So basically, today's session will entirely be focused on the basics of reporting. How are we getting started with reporting? What is the role of a report writer? And we'll be talking about the basics of the business object details. So we know that in Workday, all the reports work on the model of business object and data source. So we'll be understanding that. We'll be understanding what all tools does Workday offers as a report writer. What all tools can be offered? What are the different kind of ways you can present data in the form of reports to your clients or to your organizations or to the stakeholders that request for those reports. So those are the things we'll be talking about. We'll be also understanding the different kind of data sources that are available in Workday, and then we'll be moving towards understanding what are the different kind of reports one can build in Workday, starting from advanced, matrix, custom, and so on. So this will be the entire crux of today's session. But looking forward to the week, we'll be spending time on understanding the basics of advanced reports, and then we'll be moving towards how to what are the different types of calculated fields one can build in Workday, and how can one build each type of calculated field. So this week will be all about starting from the scratch of the session. That's about it. Do you have any questions before we begin with the session? Yeah, this is all about understanding the functional concept, the one that you are talking. They come from the
Mhm.
functional setup model. These are organization types and everything. To
Okay.
understand this, you will have to take these functional training. Basically the HCM or the finance, whichever module. I guess you're working on finance module right now, right? Workday
Yes,
finance.
yes,
You
yeah,
mostly do. So that
yeah.
so I'm not saying that this training session is going to facilitate understanding what those means, because then we'll be moving off track. But it will, of
Okay.
course, while we will be building reports in these sessions, I will be using these kind of fields thoroughly. So you will, of course, interact with such kind of fields. We'll be working with supervisory orgs, we'll be working with location hierarchies, cost center hierarchies. I will show you how to extract levels of different hierarchies. I guess you're trying to understand those concepts, right? That if your
Yes,
report is
yes,
requiring to look at
yeah,
second level of your cost center hierarchy, how do I do that? Isn't it?
yes,
Yeah, we
yes,
will be talking about all this. Of course, we'll be doing that. But what exactly do they mean? How are they configured in Workday is all about understanding finance as a module. So this session will be focused on how, as a report writer, you should be able to pick up first the right type of report when a requirement comes to you, right, from the stakeholder that, hey, we are looking for so and so data in Workday and you need to present it to me in a form of report. Now, this reporting session will help you when that request is presented to you. You will be able to now communicate it back or understand it in a reverse engineering method that, okay, this is the report. If I have to deliver this report, it should be of following report type, which data source I should pick up, whether I should give it as a trending report, whether I should give it as a matrix report to them. Second thing, you'll be able to understand, okay, are they delivered fields only that can help me build this report, or should I go ahead and build calculated fields? How should I build the output? Should it be a table? If it's a chart, how do I make it a pie chart, and so on. So getting it? That's
yes, yeah,
how, this is how, what is this training will help you achieve. So this training will be entirely focused on that bit. Okay. So maybe if you can, while I'm demoing the reports and you see that something is, I will try my best. See, I'm a reporting person. I'm a completely Workday reporting person. But I
yeah,
do slightly, because since I've been working in that domain since 5 years, I have slightly idea what each of the. I've not said that I can help you understand everything, because I'm not a finance person. I'm a reporting person. But working in the reporting domain, at least I have slight understanding. So if at all you feel confused that, hey, what does this mean and what exactly is this? How is this going to look like in the report? I can, of course, you can feel free to stop me and ask me that. I'll try my best to help you understand that. But
yeah,
yeah, I will recommend to understand these concepts. Do you have community access? Has the organization provided you that?
user
Yeah, you get
access.
the client. Yeah, the client access that community
Yeah,
provides. I understand. Yeah, so I will recommend just sit on community, spend some time. A lot of things are open to clients also to understand. Workday does let you document a lot of things as client is. Shared with you, it will be on the recording. This entire
okay,
deck is very thorough in nature. You can access the
Okay.
recording at any point of time, so you can look at these. I have built a deck in such a way that whatever I'm talking is well documented here. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, cool.
Okay. So that's it. Okay, now let's talk about our very first basic for today's session, understanding Workday's report writer tool. So whatever we deal with in the Workday's reporting environment, it's all running on the basis of a report writer. Rather, the access that a reporting consultant or reporting analyst gets to work in Workday is also called a report writer. You very well need to have a report writer access assigned as a security group to you to start building reports. Then only you can get access to the various tasks like create custom reports, create calculated fields, copy custom reports, view custom reports. All these tasks you need to have the report writer access. Above and beyond that, what report writer means in Workday is basically the platform where you're creating custom reports, okay, and worklets and dashboards, right? One interesting thing about Workday's report writing tool is it's completely self-service model rather than end user delivery model, which means that if a security group has access to run the report, they can simply log into Workday and they can run it when needed. There is no concept of a centralized team running all reports and deliver it to end users. It's not like that. If you have a report writer access, if you have shared the report with a particular security group, let's imagine you're a finance partner. If finance partner has access to the report, they can get into the tenant, they can look for that report and they can run it for themselves. It's not always that as a reporting team, they will keep coming asking you that, hey, run this report and send the data to me. That would not. Workday lets the reporting team be the, I will say, center of excellence for building reports rather than having the job of running the reports and sharing them with users until and unless the security group cannot be given access to the report. So when we are talking about access, let me help you understand how access is given to the report. Let me just get into the tenant for that matter. Mm, okay, give me a bit. I'll just get into the tenant and show you how exactly security works for reports. So let me just open a very simple report.
Yeah.
And all the reports that I would have built, they all come under the report tag of report training. So once I give the demo and you'll be in the tenant and you want to look for the reports that we have spoken about in that particular day, you can very well search with the tag report training. You will see the reports that we spoke about, okay, for your reference.
Okay.
Now, this is a very simple matrix report. It's built
When
on
you
a
say
data source
report
called
tag, you mean name of the report?
no, this is what. So I'll show you. This session will show you how to look for reports and everything, but I'll show you how to you can filter reports from report tag. This is what I mean by report tag.
Okay.
We'll talk about how to create these and everything. Okay. Now, whenever we talk about who can access a report, we talk about report security. As we know that every report is built on a data source, right? And in Workday, security works through domains. There are every object in Workday is tied to a particular domain. Means if you want to view someone's salary, that will also be tied to a particular domain. If you want to view someone's job detail, like which organization they're sitting in, what is the name of the position, which organization, who is the manager for that worker, and everything. Every object, every particular field and object in Workday is tied to a domain. For reporting considerations, who can run the report completely depends who has access to this data source. So this report is built on a data source that says expense report line for company. So let me open this report, particular data source for you. So see, this is a particular data source. It's a Workday owned data source, if you can see. And if you want to view the security for this data source in the sense that who has access to this particular data source, you will be able to see it via the security tab. You'll be able to click on this view security. So suppose if I have built a report on expense report lines for company, these are the only 9 security groups with who I can share this report. Cash analyst, cash manager, finance auditor, expense partner. If at all someone comes and say that, hey, can you using correction? So you might see nothing but you. So if someone comes and says to you that, hey, can you please share this report with someone like HR partner, you will have to first assess, does HR partner has access to this data source using these steps that I just showed you? If not, then you will have to ask the security team for that workday that, hey, can we provide access to HR partner? If they say that no, it will open a lot of unwanted information, then only you will be the one running this report with your access. You will be putting that data either into an Excel format, you will be putting it either into a PDF format and then sending it to the end user. That's how we do it. But until unless all these security groups have access and you have shared these reports with these security groups, there's also a second level. If it doesn't only mean that if cash analyst has access to this data source, they can look at reports which are built on this data source. You need to explicitly go and share the report with these particular security groups for them to run this report. So if you have shared this report with cash analysts, they can very well get into the tenant and I'll show you how do we look for reports and everything, and they can run this report. Okay. So that's
Okay.
about the self-service model of Workday. That's what I was meaning to say when we were talking about the self-service model. Now let me get back to the deck. Just a second. Yeah. Now, another thing to understand here is basically you have to first, and this is a thumb of rule I follow whenever I build reports for myself. I always bifurcate a report requirement into certain questions that I ask myself that, hey, and then I follow these particular steps to understand how exactly can I build this report. Suppose if a report requirement comes to me for a particular report, I always ask these set of questions to myself. So suppose you have got a report requirement where they are asking you that show me all the salary changes that has happened for an employee in the past 6 months. Okay, or all the salary changes for an employee sitting in a particular cost center. Okay, moment a requirement comes to me like this, my very first analysis is what is the different report type I can use. We will talk about different report types in the coming slides. But yeah, the very first question I ask is if it's an advanced report, can I build a simple report? If it will be a search report, matrix, trending, composite, which particular report should I be presenting my format into? So once you'll be understanding what each of these reports means, you'll be able to answer this question very well. Then comes, and in that, to understand this, you might have to ask questions to the stakeholder as well. That, hey, how do you want these data to be presented? Do you want it to be summarized as graph and charts? Do you want it to be interactive report where you're filtering real-time data using facets and all? Or do you want it to be rows and columns where you're simply showing the data as rows and columns? Okay. Then the next question I ask is there a delivered report in Workday which can already meet my requirements? We know that Workday provides huge number of delivered reports, right, to work with. So that's the next question that we ask, that is there a delivered report that I can use? If not, is there a close to delivered report? In Workday, we do have a compensation changes report. Maybe that's not exactly what my client is asking me for, but it's a very good starting point. If it's a standard report and not an espresso report, you can very well see how Workday has configured that report, as in what data sources have they used, what fields have they used, and you can take that as a starting point, and then based on your client's exact requirement, you can further tweak that report. You can maybe add more calculated fields, add more filters, prompts to that. Then comes if at all there is no delivered report, then you will have to see that, okay, maybe I need to create a custom report. If I have to create a custom report, the most important question that comes to my mind is which data source to use. We'll be talking about data source selection tomorrow when we'll be building advanced report. How can you build one report, and like if you are presenting one set of data, how can it be achieved with multiple data sources? It's not always that there is this one data source that helps you gather the data. There can be multiple data sources that can also help you achieve the same set of data. It's all about which is the most optimal data source. And by optimal, I mean performance enhanced data source. So in reporting, very one important factor, and we'll be talking about this later towards this entire training session, maybe in the fourth or fifth week. It's very important that reports should be performance optimized. The user should not keep waiting for 20 minutes and 25 minutes to get data right. They want data quickly and faster. So what are the different factors that impact it? We'll talk about it later in this training session. So that's it.
Yeah.
Then when once you have picked the data source, you will be able to ask that is there an index data source, which is like a high performing data source. We'll be talking about the difference between standard and index data. We'll also be, then once you have finalized your data source, you will have to understand what are fields do I need to put in the report, as in what are the columns one wants to see. Are these all Workday delivered fields, or do they need to be calculated fields that I need to construct? If at all delivered fields, which is the BO from which it's going to come. Then if it's calculated fields, what are the different kinds of calculations I have to create? Do I have to create, so sorry, lookup related values, arithmetic calculations? Do I have to concatenate text? Do I have to create lookup date rollup or lookup hierarchy? There are various ways you can build it. Once we have undergone this week's calculated field session, you'll be able to thoroughly understand what each of these means. And then slowly and steadily, we'll move towards, does this report needs to be filtered? Is the user only looking at a particular set of data, or I need to provide entire company's data to them? Do I need to sort it? Do they need any prompts to run this report real time, or everything needs to be filtered in the filter itself? Who are the security groups with whom I have to share these reports? So basically, I always bifurcate my report requirement into these set of questions. I maybe note it down somewhere, but my entire thought process circles around these, and this helps me achieve my report requirement in a much better way. So that's a very good way to do it. So that's how I always structure my thought process whenever report requirement comes to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at what are the different ways in which you can present information to the stakeholders. In Workday, it's not just that you can present data to your client in the form of what do we call as reports. There are various ways in which information can be presented to the client. The very first of them happens to be your worklet. Now, worklet looks something like this, right? It's basically a tile format on the homepage. I'm sure when you log into Workday, you might have seen, especially when you're proxying as a user, you might have seen they view these little tiles presented on their homepage, right? And these tiles are basically grouped as per their function. Maybe if they are manager, they will have a tile for their entire team. If they're looking at the expense department, they will have a tile for the expense. And all these worklets will have multiple different reports within them. So basically, you are organizing your reports in the form of a particular, you can assume it that this tile is housing different reports pertaining to a different function of the manager. So if you happen to be a manager of an expense department, you will have different functions to do, right? You might have to manage your team. So you see all your team details under one tile, right? You might have to look at the talent details of your team. Basically, what was the performance rating last year? Is there a performance review coming due anytime soon? Are they up for a promotion? And all those kind of things you might have to see. Then you might also have a favorite tile. By favorites, you mean you want to store all the reports that you run on a daily or a weekly basis. You might just want to store those tasks and report under your favorites. So that's how that also comes under a reporting and I will say reporting and analytics domain of Workday. We will do a thorough worklet and dashboard session in the third week. We'll try to achieve it by third week, but yeah, we will be having it. Then the next way you can present data as a report dashboard. Now, dashboards are very interactive way. So let me just, okay. They're very analytical in nature. By analytical, I mean dashboards are consolidated, not, it's just not grouping reports, but a lot of many things. You can group tasks, you can group alerts, you can group announcements. Everything can be grouped under a dashboard. So in Workday, a dashboard is provided as 6 tabs. I'm not going to get into depth of it because we have a dedicated session for it. But yes, so dashboards are primarily consolidated as a assortment of reports, announcements, and tasks, and that can also be shared with multiple security groups. They can either access the dashboard from their homepage, or they can explicitly go and they add that dashboard to their table. So that happens to be our dashboard. Another way you can present data to the client is embedded analytics. Now, this is something little functional in nature. Why I'm saying it's functional in nature is because embedded analytics can only be configured on business processes. Do you understand what exactly are business processes in Workday?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So whenever, so suppose there is a BP, right? There's a BP to approve expense report for a employee. Suppose, okay, maybe there is this the employee had gone on site and they have a number of expenses incurring, like airfare, hotel expenses, food expenses. There is a proper business process articulated with multiple steps in that. So suppose in order to approve that expense report, maybe whosoever, maybe it's the financial analyst who is approving the business process, will need a set of data, real-time data to be reflected on their BP, like this, what you can see here. They might want to see who's the worker, how many years they might be with the organization, which position are they in, because maybe for different positions, the budget is different, right? Maybe you are only allowed to spend $100 per day based on your job profile, or maybe $200 if you belong to a different job profile. You're getting that? So maybe that person needs real-time data to approve that particular. So that is when you build reports. Whatever real-time data do they need, you build reports for that, and then whosoever is building that business process, your functional person will use that report and they will configure it on the business process, or maybe they ask you to configure it in the business process. So that's about embedded analytics. Embedded analytics are not explicit reports that can be run. Rather, they are reports that are configured on the business process steps to help the security group, whosoever is executing that step, to help them execute that step, right? You present information in the form of a report as a part of business process. So that's about embedded analytics.
Okay. Yeah.
Another way you can present data to them is in the form of alerts. Now, alerts is something it's one of my favorites because I find it very user friendly. Alerts are basically a small snippets of reports that get automatically delivered to your inbox at regular intervals. Suppose you happen to be a financial analyst, okay? And you always need to see every week that what are the upcoming in progress expenses that I need to, suppose your organization follows a policy that every Friday all the pending expense reports for this week should be approved. So alert is basically like a reminder you are sending to that particular financial analysis that, hey, these are the set of expense reports due for your particular company, the company that you are looking after, and you need to look into these particular set of alerts to walk through that. So alerts are basically you build a report, you filter those reports based on a particular criteria. So suppose this criteria is that send the status of all in progress expense reports for the prior week to the financial analyst. You will schedule those alerts to go into that financial analyst inbox time and again, and that's how you can go about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is another way to present. Now, whatever ways we looked at right now, these are all basically, what do we say, as ways to show a report apart from the usual ones, that how we go and run and look at. These are also ways in which you can present data to your stakeholders. No,
Presenting.
it's not a kind of report, nothing. It cannot be presented, to be honest. It's just a report that works in the background to form the basis of a composite report.
Okay.
It's not also a type of report. You just, for the purpose of naming it somehow, you call it a sub-report, but in Workday, there's no actual type as sub-report. It's just that we call them as sub-reports because they're used as sub-reports in composite reports, but that's all. That's all we have that we do with sub-reports. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. Okay. Now let's move to our next. Yeah. This one I have thoroughly spoken about, which is about your data source, sorry, report security. But yeah, one thing that I want to highlight here. So as you know, in Workday, we have standard espresso reports and then we have custom reports, right? Whatever is delivered by Workday is always defined as either standard or espresso report. By standard, we mean those reports which you can easily copy the report definition and tweak it as per your need, right? But espresso reports are reports which you cannot be copied. You can only see the output of the report. They rather work on an algorithm in Workday's background. That's how it happens, but nothing beyond that. You cannot do anything with that. You can only look at the output of the report and you cannot look at the report definition. So when it comes to Workday delivered report security, we cannot really tweak the security. It is as it is. And just like custom reports, even their security is determined by the data source on which they are built. So once you get to understand, and there is also a report in Workday, we'll be talking through that, all standard reports. That shows you which what all security groups can access it. So let me show you that first. Let me just get into that. So there is this very flexible and user-friendly report. It's called All Standard Report. If you want to view all the standard reports that are delivered by Workday, and you want to view which particular security groups have access, you can just a second. I guess it's called Workday Delivered Reports. This is a report you can access here. I don't know why it's not coming up. Usually, I don't know if I have access to this task in this thing. Yeah, Workday Standard Report, sorry.
Okay.
So see, you can filter either on report categories. If you're looking for maybe or only finance related reports, you can do that. You can filter on whichever particular data you are particularly, like if you're looking for payroll, you're looking for batch processes, you can filter on that. But let me just click on maybe HCM. Okay, and just let me I'm just running a random set here to show you
Yeah.
how you can leverage this report. So here, if you are building maybe a report related to income statement, okay, and you want to look at if Workday has a delivered income statement report or a trial balance for that matter, you can filter on the report category. So there's just one particular standard report if you can see, and you can also look at the security and everything for that matter. Mm, in this particular report. So that's how it shows the name of the report, the category. If you want to open the report, you can do it from here, the description. It also shows if it's an espresso report or a standard. If it's an espresso report, you cannot copy it. If it's a standard, you can. So that's how it happens in Workday. Now let's go back to our deck. Yeah. Then coming on to the custom report, the custom report security is determined by two factors, like I just showed you prior to this. It's either showed to determined by the data source on which you are building the report, and once you have defined the data source, it also depends on who all are you sharing your reports with. So I'm sure since you have worked with reporting slightly, you know that there is a share tab, right, under the reporting definition. And there you can go and explicitly either mention the security groups you want to share the report with or the users you want to share the report with. So that's how you determine the security for custom reports. First, you have to first ensure that the data source on which you're building the report has all the security groups that needs to run the report. Second, once you have the data source selected, you need to ensure that you are sharing your report explicitly with those security groups. That's about report security.
So
Completely,
let
like I said, they are all built on data sources, right? So if the
Yeah.
data source has access to that report, if I showed you, right, how to see which particular domain the data source is tied in. So you will have to first open the definition of that standard report. If it's not espresso report, okay, we first open the definition of that standard report. Then we open the data source of that standard report. Then we go under the security tab. We do the view security task, and then you will be able to see all the security groups that can run that standard report. Okay,
Okay.
not as a report writer. You will not have access to that. Your organization will have a dedicated security personnel to do that. You will have to go and ask that particular security team that, hey, my client is requesting access to this. Right now, the domain on which this report is built or the data source on which this report is built does not have access. So I'm giving you the details of the data source. You can look into that and you can see if we can open that data source to that user. Okay. Now I'll just quickly rush through the slide because we spoke a lot about it. What exactly are the custom, ad hoc, and standard reports? We know that standard reports are everything which is pre-built and delivered by Workday. Customs are the ones which report writer or the reporting team creates from scratch in Workday based on their requirements. And ad hoc reports are all temporary reports. Suppose you're starting a report from scratch. You don't really know if you're going to get the correct report in the first shot. So we always tend to create temp reports to get us to the end result. And temporary reports get automatically deleted after a particular date. Under the advanced tab, I will show you when we are building reports. You can check a checkbox that says temporary report and you can mention the date after which you want it to be deleted. So ad hoc reports are those kind of reports, the temp reports. Okay.
Yeah.
Then comes copying a report. So let me just show you that. Means
Ready
they
report.
just need data. Yeah, they just need data at that point of time. It's not a weekly recurring, monthly recurring, or a periodically needed report. They just
Okay.
maybe they are doing something, and in order to support that particular task, they just need some set of data. So that way, you don't really have to add that report to your report repository. You can just create a temp report once the data is done, and they are like, yes, now we are good with the data. We will utilize it in that format. Maybe after 20 or 30 days, you can very well define on the report itself that after a month this report should automatically get deleted from the system. So at Workday will automatically remove that report from the system.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like for example, they might need some of the reports end of the year, such reports.
yes, right, exactly.
Yeah.
End of the year, and they might not want to use it any after that at all. They might
Oh,
even forget. You're getting these are like that comes totally out of the picture. Maybe they just say that, hey, can you give me details, so and so details of this particular journal line. I just need some journal line, maybe the debit minus credit amount or the budget and all those kind of things. That's it.
yeah.
So you just simply build a report quickly and you do that. Okay. Then
Yeah.
comes your next task here is copying a report, write a report. So let me get into the tenant again and show you how to do that. So let me open this report address change report. So this is how we search for reports. We simply go here in the search tab, we type the name of the report, and if it's present in Workday, it's gonna pop up here on the screen. So see, you can see address change report. Now there are various things here. Everything that comes under tasks and reports will either be a task, like change contact information is not a report. It's basically a task to edit a particular information. But address change report is actually a report. Then you'll also see various Workday is also going to show things which are showing up here as address change. So fields
Yeah.
that are
Like
pertaining to
you'll
address
see a
change,
voice
whichever has
scribe.
the word address change in it. So whenever once you type a particular, I will say a keyword in the search bar, you will see always information bifurcated and presented to you under two things. One is a task and report. Task is basically a task that you use to execute a particular function in Workday. Like you can see change contact information. This is a task which will be used by a person, and this what is appearing here totally depends on your security. If you don't have security access to view these details, you won't be able to view it. Only what your security group is permitted or allowed to see in the tenant, that will only come up here. So suppose I wanted to look at address change report. I simply type the keywords address change in the search bar and I pressed enter. Okay. So I can see that address change report is appearing here. But also down below all of Workday, you can see there are various things that are coming up here, like fields. Any field which has the name or the keyword address change in it will also show up over here. You can see there's a true and false field, there's an instance field. You can also see business objects and data sources pertaining to address changes coming here. So that's there. You can see all of that and you can access them. You can click on the related action bar and you can access them very well. Give me a minute. Uh, I don't know why it's actionable as well. Very slow this time. Okay, meanwhile, I'll get back to this. Meanwhile, when the tenant thing, I will show you contextual reporting. So in Workday, we have one thing called as in Workday, we have something called as contextual reporting. Contextual reporting is basically when you know where the data is stored in Workday, but you don't know how to go about building the report from there. So suppose if you have been asked to build a report to pull all the compensation related details of a worker. You know where the data is stored for compensation details of the worker, but you don't know as a starting point which field will give me those data, which business object that field will be built on, which data source should I be using to pull that data, and so on. Those kind of things. So that's about contextual reporting. So I'll show you exactly how do we go about contextual report. So let me go in. I'll just open a worker's information. So this is the employee for which I want all the salary details, right? Let's just leave employee. I just want salary details of a particular person in my organization. So I'm going to open this particular person first. And I'm going to go. So I know that all the compensation related details of this person is stored over here, right? Their rewards, their compensation, their pay change history, everything is stored under this particular tab. But I don't know if I have been asked in a report to pull what do we call as all their salary plans, like what all plans they are sitting in. So suppose they have salary, allowance, merit, bonus, stock plan assigned to them, right? But you don't know how to pull them in reports. We can very well do it from here. You can go under the compensation package. You can view the report fields and values. So let me just show you pay change history. So suppose I am looking at the information related to this particular. I want to build a report that gives me all the information related to this particular merit compensation change for this particular worker. Maybe the report request has come that build a report and show me all the prior and current sorry, all the prior and current values related to a compensation change, a merit compensation change in the report. But I don't know what all fields will give me. And they want to see the reason, the total salary and allowance, the total base pay, and all those kind of things. All
Yeah.
those kind of things under that particular report. So how you can do is, and it's called contextual reporting in Workday. I also call it reverse engineering. You can very much click on the related action of that event. You can go under reporting and you can click on report fields and values. This will give you the list of all the report fields that are related to this particular event. So let me just show it to you. It's a very handy tool. It always helps me getting started on a particular report. But I first go and ask the functional person that, hey, can you show me where this data is stored in Workday? Can you show me the event which is leading to this particular data? And I always use this. It will take a while because, of course, it's fetching a lot of information. But yes, I always follow this rule of thumb when I start with a report which I clearly have no idea how to start with it. Okay.
Okay.
So can you see there are some thousand fields that have come up here. You can I prefer to download it in Excel because I filter a lot on this task, and filtering and value and all is not user friendly over here. So I always prefer to download the Excel format of this from here, and then I filter on it. But suppose I want to look at can you see there are so many fields here. So maybe you want to pull the employee's name. You are ensured that you will have to use about work or field. Then you check that which particular BO this field is built on. You can simply click on this particular related action of this field, and you can see that this particular field is built on action event. And you will then have to go backwards. You will have to see what all the data sources have primary BO as action event. Okay, that way. So you first find the field that will give you the data, then you see which business objects they are built on, and then you see what all data sources have those BOs either as secondary business object or primary business object. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very important thing that I want you to understand. So suppose they want to see that as a part of this merit change, were they assigned any new allowance plan? Yes, they were. So you can see, you can keep one tab open for that transaction, and you can keep one tab open for this report fields and values. And you can very well in that Excel format, you can filter and see that which particular field is giving me their allowance plan details. So it's called allowance plan assignment proposed. The BO on which it's built is employee compensation event. You will have to check that if I'm using a particular data source, that data source has that as a related business object or not, or a primary business object or not. It's not always necessary that you only need to have data on your PBO, which is a primary business object. You can also work with related business objects or not. So this is a very good thing that I feel you should start implementing, because it makes our life very easy to when to build reports. That's called contextual reporting in Workday. Yeah, I know, but this is very. It's like I also learned it later, but it's very important to understand that, especially when you're new to reporting. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Then next, coming on to our next thing here is key delivered reports. I'll just pause a bit on this particular slide because I'm not going to walk one by one, but I would just want you to run that Workday standard report after this session, and you can filter for whichever domain you're interested in. If you want to look at finance related reports, I'll suggest you go into that, uh, start looking at all the reports that you feel you are commonly asked for and you struggle building those reports. Start exploring, because Workday has a lot of delivered reports which serve as a basis of a custom report. So the reason I'm asking you to explore those reports is because you'll be able to understand data sources better. You'll be able to understand fields better looking at them. So that's maybe like an assignment you can take after this session. Explore the delivered reports for your particular domain today. Yeah, of course, because a set of delivered reports in Workday are always same. It depends on
Okay.
is the client only a finance client on Workday, or they have also implemented HCM on their
HCM.
system.
HCM both.
Yeah.
HCM
Both, no?
and yeah.
You can. Yeah. So sure, you can explore whichever category you want to start with, because the set of reports is always same depending on what all modules they have purchased from work. Yeah.
Finance
So then you will
related.
be able to do that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now let's look at the different kind of reports Workday has to offer for us, and our the entire rest 3 weeks. Last week will be focused slightly on things like BERT, EIB, and all. But the coming this week and 3 weeks after that, the 4 weeks we will be talking about these things only. We'll be talking about advanced reports. The advanced report is let's first talk about simple report. Simple report is a very straightforward report that we build. We only use simple report as a design when you know that all the fields that you are going to present in the report are on the primary business object. When you do not have to pull fields from related business object, when you do not have to do things like lookup related value and all, we go with the simple report option. But the moment we know that our fields are not just on the primary business object, but they need to be pulled from related business objects, then we go with an advanced report option. Now, when do we use advanced report is when we have to present data to the client in the form of rows and columns. When they want detailed data, basically they want to look the row by row detail. So suppose if you're building a report for journal lines, right? Or let's talk about expense lines. If you're building a report on expense reports for an employee, and you want to see detail of each and every expense report that the employee has incurred up till now. They want to see the status, they want to see the date, they want to see the amount, everything they want to see. All those things, when they're looking at detailed data, we go with advanced reports. That's when we leverage advanced reports. Then comes matrix report. Matrix report is more of not a detailed report, it's a summarization report that we use in Workday. When you want data to be presented in a summary format, such like in graph, chart, and everything, especially when they're looking at average of a particular metric, they want to see the sum, they want to see count, then we go with matrix reports. Search reports are very user interactive reports. I don't know if you have ever applied or you have looked at the find candidates report, or if you have been a candidate in Workday and you want to build you want to look for job applications open in that organization, then you will get to see that based on various criteria, you can filter and you can actually search for. So maybe you know that there's an opening for Workday reporting analyst. You can simply type above reporting analyst, and so those are interactive reports that we build. We will see how to build those reports. Then there are transpose reports. Transpose reports are basically comparison reports in Workday. When you want to see, so suppose there is a succession planning happening in Workday, and there are 10 candidates selected for the succession plan. And you want to select you want to analyze all those 10 candidates based on five criteria. First, when were they last promoted? Second, what was their performance rating for the past 2 years? Then their potential, all those kind of metrics. Suppose they want to. So this transpose report will show you side by side data of these five metrics for those 10 candidates. So transpose reports are used for those kind of purposes. Then comes NBOX. NBOX is a report not many organizations use, only those organizations which heavily invest in calibration, like performance calibration and talent calibration, use it. So that's how NBOX reports work in Workday. So that's about that. Then comes trending report. Trending report is a very interactive report. In finance, it comes very handy. When you want to summarize your data based on a time period, maybe by fiscal period, or current year to date, or year on year, month by month, that is when trending report comes into picture. When you are summarizing your data based year on year or via different fiscal period schedules, then that is when we use trending reports. Then the last and the most interesting and the most complex one happens to be composite. Even though complex, I like it as a reporting methodology because it helps you do so much. Composite report is when you have to present data from two different data sources or from two different time periods, or basically have to present data in a particular format which cannot be achieved via the rest of the reporting types. That is when we build composite reports. When you know that I have two set of data to present, but they are both sitting on two different data sources such that I cannot pull it on one particular data source, that is when I go with composite report. I bring data from two different reports and combine it in one composite report. Or maybe I want to show side by side data of two different time periods, and I know that trending report will not let me do that. Maybe because I have to execute calculations based on that. And maybe I want to show difference between year one and year two. That is when I go with composite report. So it'll be a very, and everything. You will see how to configure columns, configure rows, outlining structures, repeating column groups. All of that will be shown to you. How to do calculations on composite reports. All of that will be covered. So yeah,
Yeah.
in week 3, we will be talking about composite reports. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll learn about it. It's a very in-depth session related to that, because I remember when we spoke, you wanted to learn this particular kind of reporting. So I've kept it very extensive and vast. We
Okay.
will walk step by step through all the features. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at the object model of report. Remember, I just showed you the contextual report. And what did I tell you? Once you have identified a field, always work backwards. First, see which particular business, or first identify which field will give me this value. It's not always necessary that only delivered fields can give you this value. It might be a calculated field, but you have to also find, because calculated excuse me. Because calculated fields also build on delivered fields. You have to identify that which particular delivered field stores this value in Workday. So suppose if I'm trying to find the salary plan of an employee, you have to identify that field, that which particular field stores the salary plan field in Workday. Maybe I do not want to present the all the data which is presented under the salary plan field, and maybe I just want to present a subset of that data, maybe just the salary amount. So I have to first see that do I need a calculated field to extract this particular details, or do I have a delivered field? So that's how we organize our reporting. So let me just start from bottom to top. Yeah. So let me just start from again. So suppose
Yeah.
you have to extract salary plan details of a particular report, right? In a particular report. So like I showed us, right? How do you follow the contextual reporting method? Or the other way to do that is look for a delivered report. There are a lot of reports that show you compensation details. Look for a delivered report and see if there is a Workday delivered field that will give you that detail. Okay. Once you have identified the field, go backwards. See on which particular business object that field is built on. Okay. Once you have the business object details, see if that business object will be a primary view on a data source. Many a times that business object is never a primary view. Then that clearly indicates that this business object can only be brought by a related business object. So see that, and then you look at the primary BO related to that business object, and then select your data sources. Okay. So we always follow the reverse engineering method. Now let me explain what each of these things mean in Workday, and then I'll show you in the tenant how exactly to understand the related business and the relationship between primary business objects. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, business object in Workday is basically that particular object where Workday stores data. And by that, I mean all sort of data that is there in your tenant. There will be a business object related to organizations, which will store all the data or in form of fields. So organization type will be a field under business object of organizations, organization name, organization hierarchy, all the things related to organizations. Basically, you can see business object as I will say, what do you say, in-house, or you can assume it as a, let me give you an example. Let's take up this organization. Suppose you're dealing with a report which you have to show all the organization details, not of a worker. I'm just speaking in general. Okay, all the organization details. So let's assume organization to be that parent storehouse or warehouse of data, right? Under that warehouse, there are tiny, tiny fields which are storing subset of that data. So under organization, the subsets that are being stored are organization type, organization name, organization hierarchy, all those kind of things that are stored. So business object is basically the warehouse of data. Now this warehouse is always hosted on what do we call as a particular host, which is called as data source. Okay. Now, data source is the key starting position in a report. Your report, whenever you start to build a report, your report is always built on a data source. A data source doesn't directly supply your fields. It's always via the primary business object or the related business object that you're able to extract the fields. So data source is just like what do I say, a host that holds all these under figures which you're seeing as BOs, related business objects, and fields in it. So it's like the master warehouse under which there is one more warehouse. So let's assume as a company, this is the headquarters sitting in US and which is then spread to different locations. In US, it's spread into different states. Something is in Texas, something is in San Francisco, something is in California. So that's it. Your data source becomes your headquarters, and then the various locations in which the company has its office become your objects. And under the objects, you can assume these fields to be departments. Each office has its own sales department, production department, finance department. Is it clear now? How exactly can you relate to this?
Yes. Yeah.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear
So
me?
that's how you can understand this entire hierarchy. Yeah, I can hear you. So that's how you can understand the entire object model of the report. Okay.
Yeah.
Now let me show you the help you explain the difference between primary business object and what do we call as secondary business object, related business object. So let's assume there is this worker business object. Okay, worker business object is suppose the primary business object in this particular scenario. Okay, suppose I'm using a data source, all active workers. That's my data source, which has a primary view as worker business object. Under that, there are delivered fields, which is delivered by Workday, like worker hire date. So class report fields in Workday that you were seeing here, it's basically it has three types of fields stored under it. Okay, three kinds. I'll not say types, three kinds of fields. One is delivered field. By delivered field, I mean anything which is being provided by Workday, delivered by Workday. Then comes custom field. Custom field is something which Workday did not provide as delivered, but your client asked the partner to configure it. So suppose let's assume uh, there is this compensation related detail that your client wants to track. Okay, Workday has delivered fields like salary plan, allowance plan, merit plan, but my client also has a different kind of plan which Workday doesn't deliver to us. It's not does not deliver that kind of compensation plan to them. But we have an option in Workday to configure custom objects in Workday. So what we are going to suggest the client is that let me configure this particular object as a custom object in Workday, and we can store all that compensation plan related data under that object. So that custom object becomes a custom field. Custom fields are basically those things which are not delivered by Workday, but from functional team perspective, they were configured as custom objects in Workday. Okay.
Okay.
Then comes called calculated fields. Calculated fields are those fields which were not delivered by Workday, but using the delivered field, you had to extract some more calculated information. So, like from the hire date, you wanted to extract the quarter of that hire date. From dependents, you wanted to extract the maybe you wanted to extract only a particular kind of dependent. Maybe you wanted to only see dependents which are of type child, which fall in the category of children. So that way, you know that delivered field holds that value, but maybe I want only a subset of that value for which I will have to build calculated fields. So that's how class report fields work. They have delivered fields. Your report might have delivered fields. You will have custom fields, maybe not necessary, and you will have calculated fields. So it will always be a permutation and combination of these kind of fields on your report.
Okay.
Calculated field is always based on a business object. When we'll get in the session later this week, I'll show you.
Okay.
We'll look at the entire dynamics. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now let me give you a finance example, so that we are understanding the basics of both. Okay. Workday as well as HCM as well as finance. So let's assume there is a journal line business object. This happens to be a primary BO. Okay. And journal line business object has delivered fields like cost center, customer, journal status. Maybe my client wanted to track something like journal batch, which Workday does not support from the delivered mechanism. But yes, Workday lets you configure custom objects as well. So what we did, we configured custom object here as on the journal line, and then you can pull that. Then we have calculated fields Then we have calculated fields like fiscal period and spend time. Maybe from the accounting period or the accounting date, you wanted to pull what's called as fiscal period. So you will build a calculated field, maybe a date related calculated field. Then maybe you wanted to also pull something called from the expense line, you wanted to pull something called a spend type. You know that I have the main data stored as a Workday delivered field, but maybe I only want to pull a subset, or maybe I want to format this data in a particular format. So I will have to follow the calculated field path. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how easy do that. Now the next thing here is you understanding different kind of report fields in Workday, and it's very important for us to understand this. This is the last. I know we are above 10 reports. I hope you don't have to drop off. That's fine, right? You're okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just explain you different kind of fields in Workday. This is the last slide, and after
Yeah.
that we'll go to this session. So in Workday, you have already understood, right? What primary object it is. Okay. Then comes the next thing is multi-instance field. The one that you are seeing here as one-to-many relationship is called multi-instance field. Multi-instance field is basically, suppose on worker, they can have different kind of organizations in which they sit, right? They can sit on a cost center, a supervisory organization, and a location hierarchy, correct? So
Yeah.
the organization becomes a multi-instance field for that worker because it's storing more than one value for that worker, isn't it? Any
Yeah.
field which stores more than one value for your object becomes multi-instance field. Okay, so for that matter, let's take worker and compensation plan. A worker can have different type of compensation plan like salary plan, merit plan, and your allowance plan. So
Yeah.
that way, you will that becomes a multi-instance field because the compensation plan on worker object is storing more than one instance of that particular detail, right? If you will pull the compensation plan field in the report, it's gonna show you the salary plan, the allowance plan, and the merit plan details. Okay. Then comes single instance field, which happens to be the and all these things, the icon how does Workday denote which is a single instance, which is a multi-instance? Is through these icons. So you should always remember these icons. A single
Okay.
instance field has basically one-to-one relationship. Means it will only store one value in this particular. So a worker can only sit on one supervisory organization, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I'm pulling the field, supervisory organization is only going to return one value for that worker, the exact supervisory organization on which it is sitting. So that way, it becomes a single instance field. Any field which houses only one instance of a value for the object. I'm not just talking about worker, even in journal lines. Any particular field which hosts only one instance or one line of object for that particular object will become single instance field. Okay. Then
Okay.
comes your currency field. Currency fields are basically fields like salary, base pay, allowance amount, all those fields which have currency details attached to them, like USD, INR, all those things will become your currency field. So it's always denoted by your dollar sign. Okay.
Yeah.
Then comes true and false condition. True and false condition is basically this or that. Basically means if something is a, basically a condition. So suppose if I'm talking about expense report, right? So if I build a condition saying that expense report should only be of type airfare, okay, then that becomes a condition for me. Either it can be true or either it can be false, right? Expense report can either be airfare for a particular instance or it cannot be airfare for a particular instance, right? So at times it will return me a yes value or at times it will give me a no value. So basically, Workday also lets you have fields which are condition based in nature, true and false. Then comes date fields. We track a lot of dates in Workday, right? Hire date,
Yeah.
due date, your fiscal period date, your accounting period date, your budget period date, right? All those kind of dates we track in Workday. So all of that falls under date field. Then comes numeric fields. Numeric fields are basically they host numbers in them, numeric, and you will see overlapping. Many a times currency fields without currency become numeric fields. So suppose if I'm trying to pull salary amount, if they don't have a currency attached to them, they will come up to me as numeric field. Age of a person, that is a numeric field. Length of service, that is a numeric field. So all those kind of things become numeric fields. Then comes text field. Anything which is housing a textual value and is not instance in nature, means they don't have one-to-many or one-to-one relationship, becomes text field. Like the name of the worker, the name of the company. All those kind of things are text fields in Workday. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how it is. So these are the type of fields. When we'll be using calculated fields, we'll be talking about this one particular thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is about today. Tomorrow we will be talking about a relate primary business object and related business objects, and then we'll move to building an advanced report. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
make sense? That's what I told you. Go into the system today and see which sign do they have attached to them. Do they have a currency sign or a numeric field sign? You'll be able to identify that. Usually they
Okay.
are currency field. I know that it's a currency field, but yeah, just look for that sign. Okay, and you'll be
Okay.
able to identify it.
Okay.
Like if you want to understand which kind of field they are, this sign. Always remember these signs and it will help you understand that. Okay?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay then. Okay then. Let's
Yeah.
meet again tomorrow and just as a assignment, go and explore all the finance delivered reports in your system and it will help you understand things better in the coming sessions. Okay?
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay.